Good day, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And my guests today are from the Norwegian progressive rock metal band Avkrvst, who are about to release their sophomore album, Waving at the Sky, on June the 13th on InsideoutMusic. Please welcome my guests, Simon Bergseth and Martin Utby. How are you, gentlemen?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I appreciate you both making the time for Different Stages Radio. Things are moving along very well in your land. There's some great excitement coming around towards Waving at the Sky that will be released on June the 13th. I see that you've been throwing out some advanced reviews of the album, and there's been a lot of positive feedback so far. Two lead-off singles with a third that's just about, I think it's just come out, but we can start with talking about Heavy Imagery and The Trauma, which are great introductions to the album. Do you mind starting to talk about those two tracks?
Yeah, I mean the first track, "The Malevolent," with Ross Jennings, is I think it was probably one of the easiest tracks to write. But at some point we kind of felt that it didn't fit on the album because it's a bit different from all the other tracks. But the track is, I mean, so to try to keep it short, but the album is inspired by a family tragedy, a gruesome case that happened a long time ago, where two families basically ended up living next to each other, and they both abused their own children, and then they started swapping children as well. It's a brutal story. But the one guy referred to as like the stepdad in the case, he was this tacky kind of redneck kind of guy who really loved playing cowboy. And we kind of felt that this track really brought that tacky redneck cowboy sort of feeling to it. And we struggled a bit with the top lining and lyrics for it, so we contacted Ross Jennings from Haken because we knew that he liked our first album. And we basically asked if he wanted to join the track, and he wrote the lyrics and the vocal melodies for the chorus. I got briefed on the full story, so he knew exactly what to write about, and yeah.
Now, that track with Ross, that was the first single, or is that the third single?
That's the first, yeah.
It was the very first single. Okay, for some reason
Yeah.
I thought Heavy Imagery was the first single.
No, that's not.
Okay, and then the Trauma.
That's our second single.
That's the second single, correct? Now, this album is Waving at the Sky is a continuation from, or is it a prequel then to your debut album, The Approbation?
Yeah, it story-wise, it kind of comes preceding to The Approbation, so it's sort of a prequel, yeah. The first album, Approbation, was based around this character being alone, isolated in a cabin and going insane, which is the stepdad from this album, the character. So yeah, it's kind of prequel there.
Now, this story clearly really deeply affected both of you, correct, Martin? This hit you hard as well, and you've carried this for many years?
Yeah, we kind of grew up with this story, but didn't know anything about it. Then Simon and me just began talking about it, like, no reason why, but we just found, okay, but what happened? And then we just began to listen to this book written by the victims of the story. When we drove to this cabin where we are writing the music and stuff, we listened to sound like the digital
audiobooks.
Yeah. And then we kind of made our ideas based on that story. Wanted to make a concept album about it. So both Simon and I have kids, quite young, so we kind of felt some emotion about the theme, and it's a gruesome story, but we kind of found some interest about it, all the dark sides about childhood and stuff.
But like you said, touching on the fact that you have young children, that hit especially close to home, so it's a lot more intense. Now, you started working on Waving at the Sky before the Approbation was released, is that correct?
Yeah, I think actually we wrote the first track we wrote was The Trauma, which is our second single for Waving at Sky. And we wrote that probably a couple of months before the Approbation was released. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think we started with some drafts on The Trauma before the release of the first album. Yeah.
So now you two are the principal kind of songwriters, composers, correct, for the band, and then you have other musicians that come in. Like, do you already have the parts put together for the other members to play, or are they coming up with their own parts to contribute to the album?
I mean, we lay like the foundation or everything, but they play exactly what they want to play, and they come up with their own, synth parts and stuff like that. So it's just that if it's too many cooks, it gets a lot of mess, So just for the foundation of the tracks, Martin and I like to be alone at the cabin, and we grew up together. Our dads are best friends, and they also have a progressive rock band,
Which is?
Which is called Tamatoys.
Okay.
So Martin and I met Martin the first time when I was 1 month old, and he was 0 months old, because he's 1 month after me. So Martin and I have this we can be a weekend at the cabin and not talk to each other. We're just there together, and we're making music, and it's like we know what each other want. So it's weird dynamic, which is probably hard to bring others into.
Yeah. You go that far back, it's impossible. You're probably saying more to each other non-verbally than you are verbally.
Yes, probably.
Eye movements, looks, certain nods, the hand. It's like, oh yeah, I know what that means. I got you.
Yeah.
That way you can just kind of stay in your zone and just plow through. Now talk about this infamous cabin, because it seems like it's this thing. Is it just where creativity happens? Like, do you both completely cut yourselves off, do everything when you're there to really be able to focus and create?
I mean, both my family and Martin's family have each their own cabin in this same small town. But Martin's cabin doesn't have electricity, so so we landed on using mine because we need to record stuff. But we both have this nostalgic and special relationship to this place. The band's name comes from this famous Norwegian author called Avkrvst. So our band Avkrvst is basically renamed after him, but we swapped out the use with Wees just to not get sued, and it's easier to Google. But I think that this cabin that people have been referring to as the magic cabin is there's just something special there. It's really quiet. It's surrounded by mountains and forest and a lovely lake, and it's pitch black, dark outside when you go out in the evening, and you can see the stars, but it's so quiet, and we kind of just put away the phones and put up all the gear We went there for 7 or 8 weekends or so to write this album. We're just in the zone drinking beer and akkevitt and enjoying each other's company.
And creating. Very good. Now, so the fact that you already started on the second album before the first was out, do you already have, not to jump ahead because the second album isn't even out, but does this mean that you have already ideas for the third in place? Like, is this a continuing saga?
We do have something, but not near what we had before the Approbation was out. So we haven't had the first trip to the cabin yet.
That's the key.
Yeah,
and
that's the key.
So it's probably a good time. Or do you prefer it in the wintertime when there's tons of snow and it's even more desolate? Do you have any preference to the time of season going there?
I think we started in the late summer for both of the records, Martin, didn't we?
Yeah, we have the most trips in August, September, October, and November.
Yeah.
So
And we did some in January and February as well, but it's freezing cold and it takes like 4 hours to get the cabin livable.
Yeah, it's colder inside than outside.
Yeah.
In the winter. Yeah.
But
when the weather gets colder and darker outside, we find the right atmosphere to. Yeah, it's cozy to go there. Yeah, and really nice.
Excellent. Now, Simon, people may not know, or I didn't know beforehand, that you're also a very well-respected producer, mixer. You do a ton of things. So after reading up more on yourself, I'm trying to figure out now, it's like, are you having to delegate time and responsibilities? Is this becoming a bit of a challenge to balance the two?
No, I mean, the mixing stuff and producing stuff is mainly that's my like day job, you know. And with that going quite well, it kind of released some time for me to focus more on Avkrvst. I mean, Martin and I have known each other, as I said, our whole life, and it wasn't until we started on the Approbation we actually did get together and made music, because we didn't really have the time before that. But we finally stopped studying stuff and my work started rolling, and so with Martin's job, and it wasn't until then it actually freed the time for us to actually do it. So I mean, it's a perfect combination.
So is it more of a case of that this is more important perhaps now than maybe it was a couple of years ago to have that creative outlet on a personal level?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And both Martin and myself have played in tons of different other bands, but this is kind of like our baby. So
got it. Sure. Are we going on the road? I think I saw there's a couple of dates. Like, is there more plans of more shows?
Yeah, we're playing a festival in Portugal in June, late June, 22nd of June, Commendation Festival, Music Fest. But we don't have anything official other than that yet.
But are you planning more a tour, or just concentrating more on maybe some one-off festival dates, or?
Probably both. Trying to get the tour together in at some point later this year or early next year. Yeah.
And any intentions or plans of maybe coming to Canada or America?
I would love that. I have never been to Canada, so
I'd love to have you.
Yeah, thanks. We'll come. If there's a metal festival or something, rock focused.
Yeah, well, there are a few festivals, more so, Toronto, Montreal areas where you'll find, but there's also a few festivals out towards Vancouver area and just a bit further east. But yeah, we'd love to have you, and there's definitely the call for it. But as far as there's no denying, as far as progressive rock and metal goes, Montreal, Quebec in general, they do phenomenally well. Where there's bands that will play arenas and theaters there that might play bars and clubs elsewhere. There's just,
Oh, that's sick.
it's in some ways it's kind of I hate to say it, but sort of the Japan of Canada in a way. Like,
Yeah.
whereas it's kind of this thing that people are just a lot more intense, but
Oh, that's cool.
but there's definitely interest across the country.
Mm.
Now the album comes out on June the 13th. There's some different configurations, and there's vinyl discs. Where's the best place for people to pre-order, aside from differentstagesradio.com? Where else should people go to purchase your material?
I mean, if they only want the vinyl or the CD, they can do like Burning Shed or Inside Out's shop. But there's only one place that also gives this bundle with a new T-shirt as well, and that's O-Merch. It's the only one who sells it.
And O-Merch is great, and they got North American as well as the EU stores, so you're pretty much set up, and O-Merch is always a great place to purchase product. Now, I wanted to talk to, going back to the recording and stuff. Now, Simon, your dad helped with the record as well?
Yeah, he actually mastered
Yeah.
the record. Yeah.
So how cool is that to keep it in the family that way?
It's really cool. We actually had Martin's dad he played the bass on one of the tracks for the last album.
Talk about
But it's really cool. I mean, we grew up with both of them, our dads having all these Inside Out CDs in their shelves, and I think they're pretty proud of us, to say the least. About, I think we're doing what they wish they did when they were 30 years old.
so they're the bad influences, but they're also telling you what to do and what not to do.
Maybe.
Yeah. It came naturally when we grew up. With Simon and I had always the opportunities to listen to whatever we wanted, but it fell naturally to when we started making music together. We fell right into the prog scene and genre. So yeah. And our fathers brought us to many concerts in Oslo and when we were young, and needed to have an adult with us because we weren't old enough. So a lot of credits to them bringing us to concerts and introducing us to all this music.
That is. But with that music and the music that you're creating, as much as I find it obviously does fall in the prog rock, prog metal area, if you will. I really value the space and the dynamics that you have on the album. That there are those elements without it sounding forced. Is that something that you really strive towards?
I mean, the whole idea of Martin and I starting this band together was just an excuse to basically hang out more and just to have the more time to just be together. So, and when we go to the cabin, we don't, if we were to not come up with anything that weekend, we would either just drink beer and have a good time, or just chat about stuff. But we've never been to the cabin without making at least 2 songs every time, because it comes so natural to us to just, when we're there, we just make music. It's maybe we don't finish anything, but then we continue the next week and we go there, and I think that's the key thing that doesn't make us sounding like we're trying to do something specific, because we really aren't trying to do anything specific. Yeah.
Well, that explains it more now, because I find it does sound very relaxed and natural, and you just kind of let things happen and let things fall where they may, and learn and build along the way. Sound accurate?
Absolutely. Thanks for noticing it.
Well, I'll keep noticing, because I'm looking forward to having the physical album in my hand. I was sent an advance of it, so I'm really enjoying what I'm hearing, but I want to have the tangible in my hand to give it that headphone listen and really soak it in. So I advise others to do the same. Waving at the Sky will be coming out on June the 13th on Inside Out Music. You can pre-order it now on differentstagesradio.com, as well as through Inside Out Music, and also as recommended by Simon through O-Merch. So there's various bundles, and I highly recommend you support this album, because I think it's very likely going to be one of those sleeper releases of 2025 that's going to appear on lists later on in the year. So thank you very much, Simon and Martin, for your time. This is Different Stages Radio.